Dr. Monica, in the initial phases of the pandemic, it was believed that children are not strong spreaders of the disease. But that view seems to have changed, with studies subsequently suggesting that children may be able to spread the disease as much as adults. But there are contradictory findings to that extent as well. Some even say that they are more likely to infect household members. How high is the risk of COVID-19 transmission among children?
So it actually probably depends on the age of the child, and younger children literally don't have very high levels in their nasal epithelium in their nose of the receptor, the ACE2 receptor that imbibes the virus, brings in the virus. So they are less likely to spread. Older children act more like adults after 12, and they can spread. The issue is that the question becomes a risk-benefit analysis. So there are risks, like everyone has been saying on this panel, of violence in the home, of misery in the home, of depression, of setting children back in learning. And then there are risks in the setting of a pandemic to having viral cases. And the reason we have been talking so much about masking, which I, by the way, do recognize that is harder in hot climates, because what happened in Jerusalem is that it was extremely hot for 4 days. The administrator said, you know what, you can take off your masks. And then we did have spreading events because no one masked for 4 days. So I do recognize that masking is contingent on the climate and how uncomfortable it could be. However, there is a risk versus benefit analysis in any situation. And in this case, I think we're going to get to a point where there are risks to keeping children at home and there are benefits from opening. Then you can see if you can minimize the risks of keeping people in school, and we will get to a balance. Right now, things feel a little more unclear, and it is going to be country by country. Yes. Luckily, many places in the world, things are getting better with COVID-19, and it seems like it's been going on forever. United States and India, by the way, are not great examples of things getting better yet, but there are many places where it's getting better, and they are starting to successfully open schools.
And there are lessons to be learned from each of those cases where the schools were opened up and then shut once again, like we just discussed. Mr. Reddy, concerns remain over the risk of children being asymptomatic carriers and passing on the infection to teachers and parents. There are several studies focusing on this particular aspect. I have figures with me here. What are the key learnings, according to you, from the research that has been carried out on this specifically?
Firstly, we must also understand that quite often where things are working well, they don't make it immediately into the newspapers. So there's a bit of a publication bias. So it's possible that some of the schools have opened in some places without reporting incidents.
Okay.
But the most important element is that what is happening elsewhere in the community is going to be the critical factor as well. If the epidemic has been well controlled in terms of preventing virus transmission and reducing the number of cases overall in the city or town or village, then the schools become relatively safe to go to. But on the other hand, if the virus is having a free run in the community, then it becomes difficult to control the virus transmission when people are moving between home and school or within the school. So it's important that we consider that circumstance as well. For example, in rural areas where the virus might not have entered as much in most places, and where the virus also doesn't spread fast because the meeting of people is much less, where it's less crowded, there are more open spaces, and even schools usually are much better ventilated, the risk may be much lower. You could even start off. And therefore, you have to take decisions based upon the locations rather than just have an omnibus rule for the entire country. But certainly where the virus is still very active and rapidly spreading, till those conditions come under control, and even where adults are being indisciplined, then it's very difficult to protect the children. So I think it is very important for us to get all the control measures well in place in the cities before we start thinking of opening schools with a great sense of freedom. But again, the decisions have to be tailor-made to the location.
Absolutely. Very important point being made by Mr. Reddy there. Neha, You've been interacting with parents all throughout. You yourself have been managing optimum levels of learning while dealing with the challenges involved. Working parents, especially with children in primary schools, are now struggling to manage both work and their child's online learning. Daycare centers are shut. So in situations where both the parents are having to go to office, what happens in those situations? How can they handle such scenarios? What are your suggestions?
Yes, this is, I think, a very important question that you raised, and number of workshops that we do on parenting. I think this is the most common question. But then again, I would say this is a segment where probably both the parents are working, or there is a single parent up there who's very concerned that what if work starts and they have to get back to their spaces. This is going to be a question that needs answering not just at a parent level, but at a larger level, because anybody or if the government decides to get the schools going, then they will have to give the parent a solution as well. Because either the parent has to sit back home, or along with the child, or then the two of them join together. The parent goes to office and the child goes to school. So there has to be something like this for sure. But of course, keeping safety in mind.
Keeping safety in mind, absolutely. We're completely out of time. I have to just get in closing comments now from all our panelists joining us, starting first with Dr. Monica. Important things, according to you, that schools, authorities must keep in mind, must ensure before schools reopen.
You know, I would say that of all the things in society we should be focusing on, restaurants, bars, I'm going to put those all aside, sports, none of that matters. I think school is the most important place for society because of the implications for both parents and children's learning. And because we have basic public health principles that can keep children and administrators and teachers safe, I would focus as much as I could on opening as many schools as possible using these basic health principles.
All right, so the answer, of course, is in the balancing act. Lata Vaidyanathan?
I kind of tend to agree that wherever it's possible, we need to open them, because there's a whole lot of this digital divide that is there, and children need to get back to school. But so the answer is normally yes and no. Wherever possible, with all the precautions, SOPs and protocols in place, it should be reopened. And I think governments are making an effort. But at the same time, governments should also try and reach the last child through other modes. Teachers need to be trained a little more, made a little more technology savvy. I think all these processes must go hand in hand, and then schools, but nothing at the cost of a life. So if the child is not safe in school, and if the cities and the districts report these cases, I think we should not reopen schools for children at all. There is a lot of challenge. It's not easy. And we think that just because online teaching is going on, things are hunky-dory. Well, the real report and the real story is not even in private schools.
Right.
Let alone the others who are really out there waiting to be handheld.
Mr. Reddy, your closing remarks and the kind of support that the government should also provide to schools across the country in that particular area.
Certainly, the government must do everything it can to provide the kind of support, apart from all the public health measures, in supporting the schools, and even in enabling distance education where possible, where everywhere internet is not possible, at least use the television very widely for educating children all over the place. But I would like to make one more suggestion. Whether at home or at school, do not miss the learning opportunity that this epidemic offers to talk to children about how to build innate immunity with good food, good sleep, good habits, because that is critical. So discuss even that part of it in terms of how to develop good immunity. Secondly, why is it that elders with high blood pressure, diabetes, chronic respiratory disease are much more likely to get ill and possibly die? How do we prevent those diseases? This epidemic offers a great learning opportunity for life. Do not lose it, whether you're teaching at home or teaching at school.
Very well summarized. There are no right answers. It is a tricky spot that governments and schools find themselves in. There is no blueprint. These are unprecedented challenges. Most questions that they face are out of the syllabus, as they say. Leaving it there for the moment. Thanking all our panelists for making time. Thanks very much.